Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to share our research with you. My name is Siyang, and my English name is Yolanda. Today, I will represent my colleagues Peter and Maisie to introduce you our research project entitled Exploring Effective Approaches Enhancing Transferable Skills in Higher Education through Multimodal Assessment. First, let's have a look at the rundown of this presentation. So first, I will give a background of the study to give you a little bit of context. Then I'll move on to the literature review, showing you the studies that guides the design of this project. And then I will move on to methodology, which includes the research design and the participant profile and our instrument use. And then I will talk about the findings and discussion. Finally, I will wrap up our presentation with a conclusion and the limitation of our study. To give you a little bit of background, we are lecturers from the Center for Language Education at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. And the project we are doing is based on a Year 1 Common Core English Communication course targeting intermediate level university students. The purpose of this project is to identify the most transferable skills from multimodal assessment, highlight recurring themes from our data, and provide recommendations based on our findings. In the end, we hope to provide practical guidance to other practitioners on how to effectively design and evaluate multimodal assessment in the higher education language courses so that we can know the long-term impact and benefit of such assessment. In terms of the literature review, it is very important that we first define what digital multimodal composing is. It is a learning approach that is gaining traction in recent years with the proliferation of modern technology. It involves using digital media as affordances for communication. Some examples of DMC include web pages, podcasts, videos, and posters, etc. Two major theories influence the research in this regard. The first is the multiliteracies framework proposed by the New London Group back in 1996. They argue that there are 5 modes of communication that are prevalent in daily communication and meaning making, being spatial, gestural, linguistic, oral, and visual modes. And similarly, Press 2010 proposed a social semiotic multimodality approach. He argues that all the communication in daily life is essentially multimodal. People use different social semiotic resources to facilitate their communication to achieve its communicative purpose. And then let's have a look at some empirical studies. So Zhang et al. Reviewed 60 empirical studies on the DMC, and she found that these studies identify some specific skills development as a result of multimodal projects, such as critical thinking skills, learner autonomy, students' digital empathy, and their authorial identity expression and authorial agency. However, we noticed that all the study, they focus on a specific skill or competence as the learning outcome of DMC, and there has been no study which focus on a wide range of soft skills and hard skills as a result of DMC, which can be addressed by our study. Another gap in the literature is that skill transfer was not researched in the context of DMC. You might wonder, what is skill transfer? Well, transfer of learning has a different categorization, such as lateral and vertical transfer, specific and non-specific transfer, near and far transfer, and literal and figural transfer, just to give you some examples. For example, near transfer means the learning of skills that can directly be applied to similar context. For example, if you learn the typing skill in one course, then you can immediately migrate the skill to typing other things in other contexts without much change. On the other hand, far transfer means the context of the transfer is distinctly different from the original context. For example, if you learn a second language and you use the strategies and the knowledge of learning that second language to learn a third language, that could be an example of far transfer, because the two languages might be very different. However, you apply the similar strategies or skills in their learning. And we will draw on a theory called adaptive transfer, proposed by De Palma and Ringer 2011. So they argue that when students transfer their prior knowledge and experience from one context to another, they not only simply copy and paste what they have learned and repeat what they've learned previously. Instead, they're active actors in this migration process. They carry forward and reshape and adapt the knowledge to the new context. So students play a proactive role in this process, and we believe the same. So based on the above literature review, we identify some gaps in the literature that we can tap into. Our first research question focused on a series of skill improvement or skill development as a result of a multimodal assessment in a university communication course in Hong Kong. And our second research question focused on the skill transfer of those competencies from multimodal assessment in the communication English course. Next, let's move on to the methodology. So our study adopts mixed methods. For the quantitative part, we administer online questionnaire to 76 students who nearly completed the course at the time of the data collection, and they're mostly of intermediate English proficiency. The questionnaire consists of two parts. The first part is the background information, and we collect data such as students' age, gender, their previous English course grades, and other information. And the second part involved the 13 specific skills that students were likely to improve through making the multimodal videos. They were asked to rate the agreement with skill development at a Likert scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree. And here is a screenshot of the questionnaire. As for the qualitative interview, we conducted a semi-structured interview to 4 participants who completed the course 1 year before. Because of the difficulty of maintaining contact with past students, this sample is mostly high achieving student, which is a convenient sample. And our interview questions were developed based on studies by Hung and Ye and revised to fit the context of our project. Now let's move on to the findings. First, in terms of quantitative findings, students perceive that they develop a lot of technical skills in terms of multimodal videos, such as video editing, information search, audience awareness, and planning and organization. Conversely, there are some people skills that they identify as the least improved as a result from this assessment, such as conflict management and leadership. So it's possible that there is not a heavy group weighting in this assessment. That's why students mostly did individual work. And time management and aesthetic sense were also rated low by our student in terms of the perceived development. It should be noted that this questionnaire yielded a high internal reliability score of 0.9, which is very reliable. And moving on, let's have a look at the qualitative results. So through semantic analysis, 6 themes were identified from the qualitative data, being communication and collaboration, transferability of skills, digital literacy, prioritization and time management, audience awareness, and learning and personal growth. Now, let's have a look at the overlapping and different themes between the quantitative part and the qualitative part. So first, although the quantitative part and the qualitative part both touch upon time management, their findings are different, so it's a contrasting theme. The qualitative sample found that they developed time management skill. They realized the importance of managing multiple tasks, setting internal deadlines, meeting the deadlines, and staying organized. However, our quantitative sample seemed to struggle with managing their time effectively, and they did not improve much in this regard. It is possible that the qualitative sample was high achievers and quantitative sample at a more intermediate level. That's why their learning styles are different and their time management skills were also different. And as for overlapping themes from the quantitative and qualitative data, there are digital literacy and audience awareness. As you can see, these 2 themes, they are the direct benefit of making a video, because when you make a video, of course, you become better at editing them, and you are good at information search. And in terms of audience awareness, is also very important for video making. And students explicitly mention the position in that regard. So these 2 are the consistent benefit of the multimodal assessment identified by our students. As for the unique theme, there are 2 unique themes identified by the interview sample, being the transferability of skills and learning and personal growth. As for the transferability of skills, our students realize that multimodal assessment can develop their competencies which have applications in the real-world setting beyond the classroom. And that is very encouraging finding because they realize that using the skills that they learned in multimodal assessment, they are very practical and technical, which they might also use again in the future workplace. So we are actually helping the students to learn some transferable skills. And next is about the personal growth. Because making a video is a gigantic task for year 1 students, it might include like storyboarding, doing the voiceover, adding subtitles, adding music, etc. And also it includes teamwork and coordination, task distribution. So all these factors make making a video a very challenging task. But after completion of making the video, students felt more confident, and they know that they can work with people from different backgrounds, and they feel the benefit of it, give them more confidence in the future. So that's the long-term positive impact of multimodal assessment. And there are some limitation of the study, includes the small interview sample size and also a convenient sample. Our survey questions mostly focus on technical skills, but less soft skills, which is supplemented by the interview data. Another limitation might be its limited time frame because the quantitative data were collected before the official completion of the course, which was at the end of it. So students haven't had time to apply the skill that it acquired at the course to other contexts yet. So it might not be able to capture the long-term benefit of multimodal assessment yet. However, we still believe our study has important implications. So moving on to the conclusion, the first point we want to make is that except for the normal benefit of technical skills and competence, soft skills development was actually an important value of multimodal assessment, such as teamwork, communication, leadership, and time management. And based on that, we make a point that we should encourage a more collaborative aspect in multimodal assessment. In other words, we should encourage more teamwork rather than individual work in making videos. By working with classmates from different backgrounds, students can learn to embrace different perspectives. They can develop their communication skill, teamwork skills, and critical thinking abilities. And through the development of relationship with their teammates, they can also enhance their conflict management skills, which is also transferable to different contexts. And finally, I'd like to show you two QR code. The QR code on the left-hand side is a 20-minute video which introduces our research project. And on the right-hand side is a sample student multimodal video which they submitted to the course. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.